Welcome, everyone. We're going to give us about a minute to let everyone trickle in, and then we'll get started on today's conversation. All right. Well, welcome, everyone, to the state of partner engagement and partner portals in 2023 and beyond. To kind of frame today's discussion on how this came to life over the last few weeks, this was all kind of spurned and started by Adam Pash on LinkedIn, talking about how partner portals can be an absolute mess. They're hard to navigate, built from a company's point of view, and was really looking for a better way. So we brought on a few experts that took part in this discussion. So I'd like to introduce our panelists today. I'm just going to stop sharing my screens here so we can see all of them. There we go, and we'll get rid of this. All right, so we've got the three of us with you today to talk about partner engagement. First, we have Aaron Howerton. So Aaron is the Senior Channel Business Operations Architect at Atlassian, and he also hosts the Partnership Leaders Weekly Partner Ops Office Hours. He's going to tell us why partners don't want to log into your portal and other current challenges faced with PRMs in the market. Second, Rob Rebholz, he's the CEO of Superglue. Superglue does a lot on partner enablement, partner engagement. So he's going to talk to us about how to better create partner experiences to drive portal adoption. And myself, I'm Paul Bird. I'm the head portal wizard here at Magentrix and the host of the Ultimate Channel Sales podcast. I'll be speaking on kind of the root cause behind the lack of partner engagement with your portal and what you can do about it. Talk a little bit about what Magentrix is doing to enable partner engagement tools both inside and outside the portal, and how Magentrix has pioneered an AI-powered PRM and leading the way with kind of an AI-powered future when it comes to partner management tech. So, Aaron, I want to start off with you. In fact, I'm going to share my screen again because you had this great little meme that caught our attention. Just bear with me. That where we are going, you no longer needed partner portals. So just let me bring this up real quick so everyone can see it. So maybe you can give us a little bit of context as far as this this great meme that you had, as far as, hey, I remember this movie from the 80s, but maybe you can share with us a little bit more about where you were going there.
Yeah, so a little bit of context. I met Adam several weeks ago. We got connected on a one-to-one, and I've been seeing his content. And then he made his post, and I just responded. That was the first thing that came to my mind with his response, because in the middle of all of this, in the middle of what I do full time, I'm constantly thinking of tech. And one of the things that I want to see happen is easier access for partners, right? How do we help partners where they're at without forcing them to always come to us? And so I just kind of thought of this idea as like portals can get in the way. When you look at where things are trending right now, partners have more partners than ever, right? You are partners. We want to see more partners, and they work with more companies than ever. And all those partners have to go into different portals to manage business. And so if we can do anything to keep a partner from having to come to us and go to where they're at, we're making it easier experience. So I had made a comment in his thread, and he basically told me, like, if you don't post a meme about this tomorrow, I'm going to steal it and take it as my own. So he threw the gauntlet down, and I had to respond, and it definitely blew up a lot more than I expected for what it was, right? Like that was a throwaway LinkedIn post that became something much larger to me. But it's really driven by the idea that partners need a better experience. And if you look at the current portals, there's a bit of a challenge, right? Portals largely, I'd say this, not all portals are driven by the old reseller models, reseller referral models with a lot of marketing engines. So there's a lot of this need to track MDF and all these older pieces, but current portals, current technology trends are showing deeper technology alliances, strategic alliances, solution partners. So we have a much broader depth of partnership types in the marketplace tonight that are not generally reflected well across all portals with what they would call with base features. Now, I also don't want to blame all the portal vendors, right? Let's be very clear that buyers go to the market because they have a specific need. A lot of times that need is deal reg, not a big surprise. Wow, we got to give something to our team. They got to be able to submit a lead. We got to get a form in. And so they go out and they buy a portal without a portal strategy, right? So we buy the portal to get deal reg, to get opportunity dashboard, and we leave all these other features on the table, which can be asset management, co-branding, MDF management, calendars and event scheduling. Like all that stuff can easily live dormant if you don't have a consolidated strategy. So I think it's twofold. I think historically you're looking at platforms that were built for a different type of partnership that are hustling right now, I think, to get caught up, add new features and kind of get in the mix, but also buyers who've not always been strategic about what it means to have partnerships as a consolidated ecosystem play for your business. And then the result is you get a portal that a partner is supposed to go to that doesn't have all the content they need. They're logging into multiple places, right? It's got to go to the portal, then I got to go to this place for content, then I got to go here for learning, and then I got to go here for community. That fractured experience is difficult, and they're not doing it just for you, Paul. They're doing it for everybody. So every vendor they want to work with has the same 6 or 7 logins to go, and they have to go chase all this down everywhere they go. And then it's almost completely on them to maintain those standards to stay a part of the program. So when I say we don't need portals, it's kind of tongue in cheek. Do we need portals? Clearly we do, right? There's a place for them and there's value there, but it's not what people want. It's not what partners like. I've yet to find any partner that I've ever worked with who's been just like, oh, I can't wait to get into another portal. That's the most exciting thing ever. Please let me spend 2 hours in your portal figuring out what to do. And that's basically it. Portals can be great. I think they do have a place, but too often they're just mismanaged. They're not a strategy, and they become a burden for your partnership.
So Rob, in your work, past and present, what's the relevance of partner portals that you've seen? Do you agree that there are an element that people are just not, they don't get up in the morning and say, hey, I want to log into a partner portal today? Or is there kind of a different flavor maybe when it comes to engagement?
Yeah. You know, in my previous life, when I actually built a partner ecosystem, like I had to, work with a bunch of companies that all forced me into their portals, and I usually wasn't too excited. At the same time, just like Aaron said, right, like I think there's no way around portals. We just have to rethink the way we use them. I think there are use cases, but first of all, we need to understand that they're not a silver bullet. We're not going to implement, and I've talked to too many people that are like, I'm going to implement a PRM and then everything is good, then I can scale. They're probably not the first thing you're going to implement anymore, and they are becoming one part of your partner tech stack, right? There are all of these additional solutions that are on the rise. We look at account mapping tools, etc. So it's no longer like you implement this one the PRM, this is one size fits all, or this one-stop shop solution, and then you're good. I think what's also changing is, and I think this is kind of also what you hinted at, Aaron, is I think in the past very often we implemented a PRM because we're like, oh, it's going to make our life easier as partnership teams, right? I'm going to implement a PRM and then my partners are going to take care of themselves. I'm going to be more productive. I can deal with more partners, etc. I think the reasoning, I think it's shifting right now. We need to think more about how the PRM can be part of the broader partner experience that helps us drive revenue. So it's no longer I have a one-off call with a new partner, I send them a very long email, give them access to the PRM, and then I'm like, you're on your own. It's more about seeing the PRM as part of a broader kind of is an important element of the broader partner lifecycle. And I probably need to think about, by the way, also integrating the PRM better with my other systems and creating this experience where I interact with partners, I generate touch points outside the portal, and then at the right time, I tell them, now you should go to the portal. Now the portal is going to help you do your job. Now the portal is going to give you transparency. Now the portal is going to enable you. And I think that we're going to see more adoption. So, you know, I don't think anybody that says portals are dead, I think is probably wrong. I think that, but I do think that we need to if we change the strategy of how we use them, we can drive the value of portals. So that's kind of my take on this. And yeah.
So I guess the good news for everyone that has invested in PRM and all the PRM vendors that are on the market today, that yes, partner portals are still relevant. And I think in the current state, and we look at other contributors to the thread like Jay Main and Mike Lee, you know, currently there's just no way around it. We don't have another method, and we need them for that channel credibility, right? That we have an environment where they can self-serve. You know, that centralization and security of shared channel resources. You know, from an ops perspective, Aaron, you think about data integrity and consistency for those, you know, deal and referral management, and then kind of the automation of tasks that would typically done manually, like creating users, onboarding, much more. And until there's really a disruption when it comes to the, you know, tech involved and the way that we share information, that it looks like it's going to be relevant for the future. But I also wanted to address one misconception about the usefulness of PRMs. You know, in particular, there were a couple of comments that talked about PRMs really being, you know, kind of point solutions, that type of thing. And there are a number of solutions that basically solve one task in the channel strategy, but that really doesn't apply to the Magentrix platform, because we're really a platform as a service as opposed to software as a service. And the benefits of having a platform is that you have the flexibility to be able to address the needs of ecosystems, channel programs of all different flavors, address different strategies for engagement. And then if the out-of-the-box functionality doesn't meet your needs as far as your channel program, then you can alter this platform to be able to meet the needs if, like I say, the out-of-the-box features don't meet your needs. But the misconception here is that, and you touched on it, Rob, that PRMs, partner portals, partner ecosystem platforms, that they're a magic bullet. They're not. It's a tool. It's a tool like a hammer. And it's not the nail, and it's not the one swinging it. It can't make up for the lack of, or an ill-conceived or a poorly executed channel program. It can't make up for the lack of, you know, an engagement strategy. And this is where, at least here at Magentrix, we're trying to change the way that people look at partner management tech. And we're doing this by leveraging the power of AI. And if we look at what we've kind of first delivered here, which was basically AI-powered deal registration, this is the first of a lot of different ways that we want to be able to leverage this technology so partners can get what they need, both inside and outside of the portal. So, you know, that's the approach that we're taking from the Magentrix side, but also another key component was the engagement challenges that people have. And both Rob and Aaron, you touched on this most, but a lot of these challenges with engagement, this starts with partner experience. And I know that you've both been involved. Aaron, I've had many conversations with you about partner portals. So that personalized experience is really the reason, you know, if people pay attention when they see that you're tailoring the experience to them and that you've got good, relevant, refreshed content. You know, imagine this. You go to sign up for a Wall Street Journal subscription, right? You log into the portal, it says, hey, welcome, Rob. You know, first day of the Wall Street Journal, you go ahead and read all the content. Great, you know, fabulous first day. Second day you log in, nothing's changed. A couple days later, nothing's changed. So 2 weeks pass, you have your subscription, you have your username and password to this portal. Are you going to keep coming back? Are you going to want to log in if nothing changes? It's all static content. The answer is, of course not. So, you know, personalized and having relevant content is really what these platforms are all about. So, Aaron, in your work at Atlassian, what are the kind of the things that you do to help personalize the experience for your channel network?
So it's a good question, because when you talk about personalization, and I think it's also relevant to say when you talk about partners, I think you actually have two audiences. In the modern tech stack, you've got both this group of people that want to resell your service, but also have those individuals you're talking about who work in that company, who are learning your technology and have their own professional career to be mindful of, right? I'm a Salesforce certified admin, have been for almost a decade at this point. Salesforce enables me to come in, learn my own content, get my own administration certifications, level up my learning, and carry that with me wherever I go. And I have the choice of attaching that to different companies. So when you talk about that personalization, I think that's an important part, that depending on your solution, right? Magentrix is a platform. You guys have certifications, you have learning out there that's available to us when you're creating that path. At Atlassian, that's something else we do. We have an individual certification path. Your certifications do roll up into your company. Those roll up at the company level, at the regional level, trying to recognize partners who truly reach a global status because they have global presence, as opposed to, like, 3 guys in one country over here getting global recognition, but they don't have anybody in the area where you work. So Atlassian cares a lot about that, really putting a lot of content. There's a lot of ungated access for partners once you get into the system. You can learn a lot. There's tons and tons and tons of content, of available information in our different portals, right, in the different places that we go. And we've tried to create a more streamlined experience where you can come to the main portal and you can start to work your way through the different systems to do the things you need. All the information that you need is there, is available. But like any portal, right, any conversation we're having, when you talk about the personalized experience, that also can be difficult because you're looking at operational things you have to manage, like SSO. Do we have a real clear model for getting in, getting access, permissions, profile management? These are all the unsung hero parts of putting in partner experience. To your point, I think we're going to get toward it. Segmentation, being able to see who a person is, what they are to the partner, what they are to our program, and give them content that's relevant for them. If I have system administrators or system integrators coming in, give me the technical guys. Let's get that team ramped up on the technical side. That was your salespeople. Great. They should start over in the sales path. Let's give them access to our sales journey and how we sell and how they sell and how that goes. That's the level of stuff that takes a little bit of intentionality. And you mentioned it several times. You danced all around it. You said it several times, Paul. It's about strategy. It's about coming in with a plan for what you're doing with your tech. Again, I'm coming from the operations mindset of, cool, the business bought something, we have to turn it on and try to make sense of how does this fit into the ecosystem and the architecture. How do we make this valuable? And seeing repeatedly in my history, there's not a lot of strategy driving what we do, which is where adoption falls in. And when I get into the portal, Paul, we've had this conversation. If your big metric for me as a portal is that my login rate is this high, I'm going to go, great. Here's what they have to do to get paid. Does it match that login rate? Well, that's not great. Show me the rest of the analytics. Show me the other engagement. Do we have other content in the portal? Are they engaging with that? Can we see what they're doing? Things like that matter.
I think that those are really good points. And I think all too often the approach we take is we have the hammer, that's the portal, and then we think about what can we use it for. And we run around and we find a lot of use cases for that hammer, right? And a lot of use cases might not make that much sense. I think we need to take a step back, think about our partners, and like what you talked about, Aaron, we've got these different personas in the partner organizations. And we need to think about how do they want to interact and engage with us. And there are a lot of personas and audiences within our partner organizations that actually don't need to, want to, or have to get into the portal, right? I've got a partner organization, and I work with Salesforce, and I've got all of these Salesforce AEs. I'm not going to be able, the average organization is not ever going to get a Salesforce AE into my portal to do a training and educate themselves. So coming back to your example, Paul, of the Wall Street Journal subscription or the Wall Street Journal portal, there are going to be certain people that are going to love logging in, and then there are going to be other people to whom you have to send emails with relevant articles on a daily basis. They might prefer that. Then they're never going to download your app. There are other people that you got to set push notifications. And I think we need to come from that angle, right? Like, what do these people want versus what do we have and how can we force them into that process that makes our life easier? And for logins, I think ultimately logins aren't important. What's important is that these partners drive revenue, and I don't care how they drive it. If they do it via the portal, how the portal helps them, I want to drive revenue. So I think very often we should probably take a step back, kind of take this approach of think about the partner, the journey that people go through, etc., and then tailor the solution to them. And then yes, of course, those people that get into the portal, that experience needs to be awesome, because I've used too many portals where I logged in. First of all, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't find the stuff that I needed. And then every time I logged in, I just had the same stuff, right? So I was like, okay, this doesn't help me much. This is just a burden on me, because I jump through all of these hoops to do something for the organization that I'm helping. I want to share a lead, introduce them to somebody, and they make me jump through all these hoops. So I think that's also something that we need to think about.
And this goes into partner experience. The reason a lot of vendors don't do this is because it's a lot of work and dedication. But once a partner actually realizes how easy it is to interact with your organization, not only will they appreciate the experience, but it will also translate into a higher level of trust in your brand with that partner. And that whole PX, that whole partner experience, it really has to be delivered consistently through all touch points, not just the little touch points like you mentioned as far as logging in and registering a deal, but through all aspects of that partner ecosystem, that partner portal. And that partner engagement isn't generally a problem with PRMs, but if a vendor hasn't configured their portal correctly and they're getting poor results, it's usually probably from a poor experience. But fortunately, there is a solution to the problem. And it really involves kind of a three-pronged approach if you want to kind of drive this partner experience. The first one, make sure your partner program doesn't suck. It's got to be attractive. It's got to be value. It's got to meet the expectations of the partner. Second is to make sure you've got a capable PRM. And part three is really to take the time and effort to set up a positive partner experience. And I think once you kind of deliver that truly kind of pleasant partner experience, the kind that actually Ben Wright was also on the thread, where he mentioned on LinkedIn to ensure the PRM has all three of those elements. They want to make sure that platform's got all the out-of-the-box functionality, have all the features and capabilities to help you today, but also in the future, but then can also adapt to your future needs, which you probably don't know. If you talk about strategy, Aaron, we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So you want to make sure you align yourself with a vendor that's going to be able to meet you and help you out in the future. And that really comes back to the original point of this, which is to service partners not only inside the portal, but outside the portal as well. So, from our perspective, as soon as you have the right partner tech in place, it's not the only job you have to do. Now you really need to set it up. I had said, look, partner portals are like a good joke. If you have to explain them, they're not very good. So being able to go through and make sure that the navigation, the experience is really as intuitive as breathing, make sure that it is really geared towards personalization. I think what you'll see is the level of engagement from partners, both inside the portal and outside the portal, is going to really change, but it's the overall experience that you're delivering them. So, Rob, we brought you aboard here because you have the background from a partner engagement perspective. And there was a comment, one of your comments. Let me bring this up here. Just let me share my screen again. And Adam asked about this, so I'll just pass over and we'll get this one right here. All right. So Will Taylor had said that he can't remember a time where he had got what he needed from a partner portal. Adam, who started this whole thing off, said, that there was so much friction between partner teams, and you come back with the sunglasses emoji. So tell us a little bit about what was behind the sunglasses emoji. Are you with us, Rob? All
I
right,
can
we
see
might have
his
lost.
smile.
All right, we can see him smiling here. All right, we'll give Rob a second here to respond.
Oh, he's gonna have to jump back in.
So, and we can look at, we'll wait for Rob to rejoin, but this is, I think, the most compelling topic that a lot of people deal with. Again, I deal with hundreds of companies every year when it comes to their partner program strategy. Number one challenge that I hear is partner engagement. And it's part of the overall relationship with partners. And from my perspective, before joining Magentrix, I spent half my time working in the channel, half my time managing channel. But if I think about partner experience and a lot of the challenges that people have today, I go back to my first introduction to channel. I was working for a reselling company in Toronto that resold hardware, software all around the globe. But one of the platforms we sold, a platform that a software company out of New Jersey, client server, the old way of doing things. And what was interesting is that we did so well selling this software that we acquired the company, we acquired the vendor. So we went from reseller to vendor in about 3 years. Great story, but what happened overnight is I inherited a channel. And I had always been in direct sales before, so what does somebody in direct sales do? They pick up the phone and start calling all these people in the channel because they're going to do business with me, even though I don't know these people. What I really found out really quickly was that they didn't like this company. A lot of the channel partners didn't like doing business with them. They were hard to do business with. Their support was terrible. So, we're trying to now get some return on this investment, this company we've acquired. So I did what my natural direct sales route said, get in the car. And I drove between Boston and Miami over the span of 3 weeks. My wife wasn't very happy with me that I was gone for 3 weeks, but I visited 55, 56 channel partners between Massachusetts and Florida. And I sat in their office because I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand what their business was, and I wanted to understand where we as a company fit. And I came out of that 3 weeks with really a better understanding. First, a better understanding of my channel, but then also a better understanding of where I was helping their business. And that really transformed the relationship. First of all, we were offering better support. We were offering, more marketing literature. We were actually being really aggressive with marketing and sending leads to people. But then our approach changed as well, where we would take inbound leads. We were a channel-only company at that point, and we would distribute them out to our partners. But now understanding that, look, I'm not going to send the manufacturing company lead to the person that specializes in insurance or somebody that does phone systems. I'm not going to send them the insurance client just because they're in the same territory. This helped me better understand the channel, and it also helped me grow the channel, because what I would do is there wasn't somebody that really fit the mold, I'd ask them. I'd say, who do you buy hardware, software, services from? And I would pick up the phone. I would call that company, and I would basically say, I want to return one of the sheep to the flock here, and would you be interested in joining the our channel program? Worked out really well. But the greatest success story is that we did it to CDW so many times. They became our biggest channel partner. We were a small company. We weren't even listed, but eventually we returned enough to them that we got a special invite to their data lab so we could get listed. And then floor walks with 2,500 people in Chicago. I mean, they blew up when it came to our channel installation base. So, I think that when we look at it, that is kind of the approach that I've always taken to channel engagement. Now, Aaron, you're on the ops side. So from your perspective, how do you enable the partner team to be better engaged?
So I want to talk about that, but before we get off that story, I want to highlight one thing about that, Paul, because that was how long ago?
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. So I'm not trying to date you. What I want to establish is that the foundations of a solid partner program, of solid ecosystem development, they haven't changed in 20 years. It's relationships, built on value, built on this concept of experience. Partner experience is not a new idea. It just doesn't get talked about enough. And when I talk about operations, by and large, I tell people all the time, I don't like to do operations. I don't know many people in operations that relish logging into every day to manage a task list or to do manual transitions on data. They do it because it helps other people achieve their goals. We do it because we like to help people. And in my case, I like to drive a positive experience for partnerships across the board. So what you've just validated for us is that all the ideas that we need to build successful programs with successful engagement haven't changed, right? We have different tech now. That's really the question we're talking about today, is what tech and how does tech fit into that strategy? To the metaphor earlier about a hammer. And I do a lot of remodeling. I built the office that I'm standing in now. I'm in the middle of rebuilding my bathroom. I can use a hammer to get a lot of jobs done, but when I get the right tool, jobs become so much easier, right? Taking out drywall is way better with a sawzall than with a hammer any day of the week. So it's about learning the tech stack and what's out there. Now, circling back to your questions, how do you enable people internally? That's a big challenge, right? To me, partner engagement internally is all about education. There's a cultural aspect. So I think it depends on where you're at the company. And I just got off the call this morning. Like I said, I mentioned I host office hours for partnership leaders. It's a members only event. So if you're not in the leaders, you can't join, but I encourage you to sign up. We talked about this morning, we talked about this specifically, that if you're in an early stage company, begin building out the architectural pieces to track this work in your core systems. You won't have a PRM, you won't have partner tech, but you need to get the sales team engaged in those deals. So build out whatever you need to get going and do it early. If you're coming at, right, so that enablement, I'd say engagement there looks different. Now, one tool, I'll highlight this tool. I have no relationship with the company, but I use it very effectively before, is Spec-It. Which gives you an overlay into Salesforce in particular. Is that me? Sorry about that. It gives you an overlay into Salesforce in particular. So the ability to come into a partner account, for example, your CRM is going to be rigid. It's going to have, here's your fields and here's your sections. How do you create more engaging content? Something like a Spec-It where you can put an overlay in, build out a rich text experience. I was able to link in the Better Together stories, the technical integration notes, SPIF notes, links to the partner website, links to the partner account managers, links to their account over in Salesforce, all based around those overlap widgets you're seeing pop up now. So I think it's about recognizing, to your point, the fact that you do need to do internal enablement, that you do need to increase visibility. And once again, it's going to be what Rob's going to say, is that you need to bring that content to where people are, as opposed to saying, hey, well, here's the partner account, do me a favor, go to the LMS and take the training over here, and now go to the product and look at the integration documentation. No, let's bring all that together for the externals and the internals to make sure that they have what they need where they're at. Rob, welcome back.
Welcome back, Rob. There we go.
You're muted.
But we can hear you this time. So, but to set the stage while you are bringing yourself off mute, here was the comment, right? Will Taylor asking about saying that he doesn't remember the last time he went into a partner portal to get what he need. Adam agrees with him, and you come in with the sunglasses emoji. So we need a little bit of clarification on this, because I know Adam was reading into it and we were reading into it as well.
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, sorry, I was kicked off the call. I didn't try to run away, from
likely
the discussion. Yeah. Well, I think the world is changing. I think there are, and I'm biased, obviously, because we're building a partner engagement automation platform, and we think about, a lot of these challenges with a bit more of a greenfield approach, because we don't, we're an early stage company, right? And we can kind of rethink how things are done, which again doesn't mean that I don't believe portals are an essential part of many partner programs. I say many because there are plenty of partner programs where implementing a portal doesn't make sense, just like implementing Superglue doesn't make sense, by the way. It's just, I think, we just got to be honest when we talk about these things. But I mean, the way that I think about it, or that we think about it, we think about how obviously how we can improve productivity for partnership teams. And I think to some extent what we do at Superglue and the way we think about it, there is certain content that is currently in a portal, and however well you present it in a portal, it isn't going to be appealing. So maybe you can bring it to other channels, and that doesn't mean that you're eliminating the need for the portal. It means that you bring it to other channels like email, and you actually send these messages from partner managers' Gmail accounts. and that could create pull into the portal. So that's what we think about the sunglasses. Obviously, we're also thinking a lot about AI and how we can use AI to do some of the work for partnership managers and pre-draft certain messaging for them and provide it to them so that they don't need to do all of this stuff manually, etc. I just really like the space, but I'm having a lot of discussions around how AI can change the game. And I think the big kind of opportunity in partnerships is that we're still so ridiculously, if we're very honest, partnership teams compared to sales and customer success teams are still very unproductive, which doesn't mean that people aren't very hardworking, they're just extremely dedicated, etc. We just lack the tools to do a better job, right? A salesperson that doesn't use outreach or sales loft is just not going to be as productive as it could be. Same for customer success people, and in partnerships also often that stuff doesn't exist. With the kind of, we have a Gmail template somewhere and this and that. It's just too much. It's too chaotic.
So we're going to start Q&A in about 10 minutes. But what I want to do is address a lot of the comments that came through on this post started by Adam. So first we'll start with Ben Wright he's the founder at Partner Fuel. He had mentioned that it was a good post that he really didn't know. And he'd say that the best portals are the ones that create customized experiences we've been talking about today for each partner level. And for example, if he's a channel partner and needs something different in terms of training enablement, that we can serve that. Partnerships aren't one size that fits all. And I think that we would all agree that there is no one size fits all approach to this, is that this is really about creating that partner experience to give them what they need at the time they need it the most. Do you also concur, Aaron?
I think I agree with you on that.
Perf, Rob?
Yeah, I think, I like that he mentions partner type, because this goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? The proliferation of partner programs and what it means to be a partner has changed over the past 20 years from what it used to be in terms of strictly reseller, strictly channel. And then when I in conversations, typically when I hear channel, because of my experience and my story, I usually relate that to resellers heavily. I think that's a pretty common translation, but it doesn't have to be, because all of it is different channels of avenue. And Rob keeps pulling us back to revenue, which I like. Ops can forget about revenue because we're too busy with the process. But when he talks about that, right, when Ben talks about partner types, that's the difference. Every single program is going to have different operational needs. Some of those overlap with other programs. So your referrals, they need deal reg, right? Your resellers need deal reg, but they might also need deal reg plus quoting support, plus approvals, plus co-selling, as opposed to your solution partners who need to see your project and be able to report on status and maybe give you satisfaction ratings, versus technology project who are doing API documentation with the partner group, with the product group, right? That's still green territory for technology and improvement. How do we enable product teams to collaborate cross-functionally between organizations securely, safely on the same API? To his point, everybody needs something different. Getting a one-stop shop for all that is difficult without a realistic strategy, and it's not entirely impossible at this point.
So, and Mike Lee says that, partners are partner portals are necessary to exchange information. We can't get around that. This is something we know. But maybe making that manual interface is a little antiquated. Again, talking to the partner experience that we've been coming today. But then he says something that ultimately the portal is a reflection of your architecture and how everything fits together, the importance of strategy. We covered this today as well, and the variance across programs, and that, why can't we make this plug and play? So Rob, if you think about your channel engagement strategy, enablement strategy, how do you turn this into a plug and play experience? So we can get Mike signed up. He looks like he's ready to go.
Yeah, I think overall the way, very often when you think about portals and the way we set up portals and the way there may be a lot of portals who are built, and I think this is changing. It takes months to get this stuff up and running, and then it takes even more time to kind of optimize it, etc. And I think that is part of the frustration. It's the frustration for the partnership teams implementing the portal initially, because it just all takes a lot longer than expected, and then there's frustration with the people who are sent onto the portal, which is like half ready. It's like, And so I like the idea of plug and play. I mean, that's something that I think about every day when in the work that we do, right? And if we're very honest, it shouldn't be that difficult to provide plug and play solutions, because when I have a marketing background, I built Martech before Superglue, and it was so incredibly complex because everybody had different data sources. There are so many data sources, so many different data structures. Like it was so complex that it made sense that an implementation of a marketing automation solution takes forever. But I think if we are very honest in partnerships, and I've interviewed hundreds of people in the last year, data structure are pretty consistent. I'm not talking about the big enterprise organizations where it's like super custom, but the average mid-sized partner organization usually they all have very, very, very similar data structures, which should put us as partner tech providers in a situation where we provide solutions that don't require all this customization, etc., and increase the time to value for our users.
Perfect. So we'll go through a couple of other comments here. Jay McBain, he mentions that he built a company purely around the concept of partner engagement, not logging into the portal. I believe this was on your comment, Aaron. They raised millions of dollars. The experience failed, but portals protect that confidential information, tools away from your competitors, so that you've got a level of security and protection. So I'm sure, Aaron, in all of the environments that you've worked with, that making sure that you protect information you don't want in the public domain has been critical to your configurations, your support of partner teams. Oh, we lost a little bit of your audio there, Aaron. So
I'm here. I had muted
there we
to make
go.
sure I didn't interrupt Rob, because I kept wanting to say, yes, I agree, Rob, I agree. When it comes to this, I've got a task on my calendar to follow up with Jay. He's opened the door for me to ask him questions about this, and I really want to, because I want to understand the timing and the place. In the current ecosystem, things are changing, right? In terms of, think about account mapping. Another thing that people have been doing for 2-3 decades, the sales reps meeting up, sharing account lists privately, bringing out Excel insecurely. Now we have tools, we have platforms that allow us to share that data securely. That's getting sign off from legal and compliance, info security. So we're starting to see, I think, a pipeline open where maybe in the current state, with the current approvals and the trending of things, even with restrictions like GDPR, we have an opening to start to experiment more with what it means to go system to system, or between partnerships, or to share information, because we're building it into the front end of our agreements. We have a shared understanding. We're informing our customers about what's happening, and we're developing a higher tolerance with increased security to kind of get these things done. To that point, it's absolutely critical, right? Rob, to your point, you mentioned a minute ago, you talked about MarTech and Sales Cloud. This is why PRM is such a challenge, or portals are such a challenge, is because I might want to put it in for deal reg, but when you talk to partner ops, guess who I have to talk to make the deal reg happen? I have to talk to legal, I have to talk to marketing for sales alignment. I've got to talk to the sales team to make sure I'm not messing with the CRM. I've got to talk to the partners themselves. I've got to talk to the partnership team. We have to talk to leadership. We have to talk to BI analytics. That's just to get deal reg running. Like that's a huge cross-functional role where partner ops often gets undersold for what it has to do. It's not that. It's this larger, broader focus. All that to say, I think, yeah, it's a definitely a component of everything that we do. Who owns the data? Where does the data live? What do we share with who? And that's where that experience piece starts to matter, because if you don't think that do that ahead of time, and you're underselling the cost of enablement, proper enablement, and proper education. And Rob, I like what you're talking about, right, with Superglue, because you're saying, it's kind of like a marketing engine just for your partnership team. Let's drop some drips out there. Let's get the partners engaged, and let's kind of trickle them back into the portal, just like we would a customer to the website.
Yeah. By the way, and I think like this privacy argument is a dangerous one sometimes. Like I'm, as you can tell from my accent, I'm German. So the big problem I have whenever I go back to Germany with everything that is, bigger companies do, privacy is very often an excuse not to think about new ways to interact. If people are like, oh, we have to maintain privacy, that's why we force you into this platform, and this is why the process works this way and that way, etc. And I think it's very often what it leads to is like if we overemphasize privacy, we keep everything confidential. We have 17 barriers here and there. What it leads to is that people don't like find workarounds that are even less secure, and that's the reality, right? They're like, I don't know how this stuff works, and then they just share the stuff via other channels. It's just the reality, or we just have low adoption. People are like, you know what, this is just too much,
not worth it.
So I think that's. I'm totally with you. Certain content needs to be in a kind of dedicated space, etc., to keep it secure. But sometimes we overdo it and we use, again, I see it whenever I go back to Europe, privacy is a great excuse to not change a process and have bad experiences that leads to frustration and bad outcomes. So I think we need to find that barrier, and I think it's already changing. Like in the past, people were like, oh, we can't do account, we can't share, our data, we can't do account mapping. What did people do? They share the entire customer list via CSV. So account mapping is taking place. It's just, and then we've taken that step with Crossbeam and Reveal, etc., on these tools, and all of a sudden we found a novel way to do this stuff. We at first sight we're like, oh, we're sharing confidential data, but really it is more secure because we're no longer ignoring the realities of what's happening around us.
Yeah. I want to start Q&A in a couple minutes. So if anyone that has questions, if we could start adding these questions to the GoToWebinar interface. I just want to finish up with one last piece, which is, this whole comment from Jesse Shipman saying, that your processes and procedures tools make all the difference. We talked about that from a partner experience today. But then the last part is the important one, that curiosity and empathy is really key. So that's more the human element. My sales career, one of the best things I ever learned, somebody taught me this when I was in my mid-20s. They told me, look, you have 2 ears, you have 1 mouth, you should use them in proportion. So I think absolutely that curiosity and empathy goes a long way. So let's get to some questions. We've had some people that have been listening to us today. So just let me stop sharing my screen.
By the way, you should follow all of these people: Jesse, Ben, everybody we just mentioned. They're all great people to follow.
Perfect. All right. So we do have some questions here. All right. There's a question for you, Aaron.
I see that, yeah, and that's from Aaron Olson. If you don't know Aaron, he is over at Partner Hacker, wrangling all of us contributors that do all the do a lot of writing and engagement over there.
Awesome.
And he's doing a good job. He's asking about the best book on partner ops, and I'll be honest, I think if you look for content or structured anything dedicated to partner ops, you won't find it that way. You've actually got to look into programmatic books that are like where that stuff is kind of embedded into what you're doing with that. Now to that end, Partner Hacker does have a really good resource that they just released. I have it sitting right over here on a shelf. And I'm also reading the 180 Days to Partner Success by Matt Bray. It's a summary of the title. That's from a few years ago. So I would say there's definitely more people writing about the space. I'm trying to consolidate that some of my network. But maybe, Aaron, that's a good opportunity for some content to be created by somebody.
Yeah, Mark Brigman over at Partnernomics has been doing quite a bit. Now that's more on the overall partner strategy of multiple different flavors of approach. But here's a question for you, Rob, as far as how do you measure the success of your partner engagement efforts within your partner portal? That's a great question. Oh, you're on mute again.
Sorry, I was struggling with tech. I would come back to like my previous point. I wouldn't say you need to measure, success in the portal. You just need to, how do you measure success? And ultimately, it's I think we should put a lot more emphasis on like time to value for partners. Average time to to partners submitting the first lead. The share of partners who actually drive revenue, etc. And then we need to see like what are the leading indicators that are linked to the portal that help us achieve that goal. And probably portal logins aren't necessarily, they can be one of these leading indicators, but very often they're not, because it can be gamed, that KPI. But yeah, basically coming from revenue and going back. think about the partner experience. And I think we need to talk more to our partners and truly ask them like how happy they are. Like nobody's ever asked me whether I like their portal. What I would change, what I'm missing. Nobody's asking these questions, and I think we should.
Absolutely agree, and I think different stakeholders are going to have different measurements for success.
Yeah.
The CFO, the CRO, they're going to look, what does the bottom line look like, and how much of that was partner generated?
Yeah.
And I've worked with a company that uses the Magentrix platform. They pushed over 100 million in ARR through that partner channel last year, and they expect to increase that by 20% this year. The CRO and the CFO are going to be really happy with those numbers, but I can tell you that the marketing team, their measurements are different. This is, here's this content, here's how we fit in this market, here's where we win, here's why we win, and here's all the partners that I'm going to enable so they can beat the competition in the field, and they're having a great time with it. So question for you, Aaron, how do you balance providing partners with the resources they need to succeed while protecting your intellectual property at the same time? So what's your thought? What's your approach to that?
Legal. Ask the legal team. No, really, there's a real push, right? We're in this weird sense of I've got proprietary information, proprietary knowledge about my product and my program, but also we live in a time of open access, right? Where information should be freely available. I come from, I previously worked at 6 Sense. They got a whole book, their marketing leader right there about no cold calls, no spam, no forms, no gates, right? Open up the door and give people access. So my personal values around this may differ a bit from the companies that I work for, like Atlassian. Atlassian, though, has a no BS. It's a part of our core value set. So there's transparency. There's a lot of differentiating between transparency and openness, which I think is interesting and challenging. When it comes to the system, though, I generally believe more is better. Share as much as you can. Trust your partners until they give you a reason not to trust them, just like I would with any relationship. And when they violate that, right, again, it's where you got to have good legal team, good programs. Great, here's the trust. We're going to bake it into the contract. And when you violate that, you can be gone. We need to gate our program and actually maintain this. Darren Bibby wrote a really good post about this morning that I've taken for granted. The idea that, yeah, we're allowed to talk about partnerships, partner, but hey, also, you can't just partner with everybody. There needs to be strategy and intentionality. There are times when partnerships don't make sense. There are times when partnerships will hurt you, and you need to be salient to that. I think this comes back to that question, balancing the need of what do you need to be able to do to execute well, and then how can we go, in my opinion, back to excellent experience. Rob, you said an awesome experience. I think I love that language. How do I go, here's the bare minimum. I want to go past that 10 to 20% so that you start to feel that you're being trusted. Not all of it. I can't tell you everything, but I want to do a little more than I need to or should at sometimes to build that relationship value.
And it's such a big opportunity, and I think that's the beauty, right? It kind of feels like the early days of CRM when the first company started to introduce marketing automation tools, hyper personalization, etc. Or when the first people in sales, when first people started using sales engagement tools, sequencing, etc. Before it all started to become spammy. And I think that's the opportunity right now, right? Like there aren't a lot of companies that leverage the tools and possibilities and don't focus. People could focus a lot more on the partner experience, and that's going to give you an edge. I think a lot of partnerships are not, the most successful partners aren't necessarily the ones with the best solutions, with the most attractive and high-end solutions. It's those that are trusted. They have good relationships. They make things easy for their partners, etc. And I saw that in my previous company. We did direct mail automation. That's like probably one of the most unsexy things out there. Right? It's so old school. Well, it's very important. That's what we did, but to some extent, we were more available. We were just more proactive, etc. And that's what helped us be successful. And I think that's where this needs to go. This is what partner experience is about. Everything you mentioned, relevance, etc.
So we got a question from Clark Wright here about, he's asking, what advice would you give in crafting a strategy around serving different partner types across multimedia? He's thinking about using a partner portal to drive activity around certification for service partners, and more of a YouTube-like drip experience for co-selling partners? And what are some of the things he should be thinking about around strategy and success metrics? So Rob, let me give you a stab at that one, and then I've got a couple thoughts as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it comes back to, first of all, the types of partners, but then also the personas within the partner organizations, and just being very honest to yourself what these people want. If I want to enable NAE within a big tech platform, they're probably not going to log into my portal. I might send them a YouTube video and they're more likely to watch that. Or a Loom. I'm like, hey, I recorded this stuff for you and it's going to show you, I'm going to give you 3 minutes mini certification, etc. So yeah, it comes down to like truly looking at what people want, what channels they prefer, and then crafting that experience around it, which doesn't always mean that you always have to do what they prefer. That's also, by the way, important to say. Like sometimes you're just gonna be like, yeah, but this is the process. But yeah, I think it's again coming back to the audience that you're trying to serve, and not thinking about like what makes your life easier.
I'd agree. And Clark, the way I would look at it is, you already know the expected outcomes, but when it comes to how you want to craft the strategy, let's first start by identifying, when you look at these kind of different partner types that you would be engaging with, let's define an ideal partner profile. What does it look like? What does that individual, what does that company look like, and how are they going to achieve your goals? So how do you do that? Well, first of all, do they have the resources, right? Is their focus and your focus in alignment? Are they a capable partner, right? Do they have stability? Are they going to be with you for a long term? Or is this going to be a big investment in partner onboarding, partner enablement, partner education with no return, right? So the first thing you want to do, identify that ideal partner profile. We call it the ICP when we're doing direct sales, but it is an IPP, ideal partner profile, that you want to be able to complete. So then when you look at the way that you're engaging with them, this is going to be really based on the understanding that you have of these partners. So you can start to understand, how do you interact? How do you learn the best? And is that through, this YouTube kind of small, easy to consume bits of content? Is this more live, interactive? Is this self-guided? And the choice of your PRM should be able to support all of these different engagement models. So then the end, how are you going to track success? Well, what does success mean to you? Is success revenue? Is it success, market domination? Is success, look, I've broken into a new market where I didn't have any partners before. I have returned results and started to see ROI within, let's say, 180 days, whatever your timeline is for that. But again, you should be able to track all of the metrics that you're determining. Don't take the canned metrics that some partner platforms would offer, but then specifically the ones that you're looking for. You want to have a platform that's flexible enough to give you what you need. So there's a lot to unpack there, but it's something that I'd be more than happy to follow up by email. So we also have a question here. How do you ensure that your partner portal is user-friendly and provides partners with information they need? I love this question. It's a great question. You know what? Show it to somebody that has no idea what you do. Let a friend that isn't even in the industry, create them an account and let them come in and say, okay, find this. And if they look at you and their jaw drops and they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing here, then you've got some work to do on your partner experience. Aaron, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
I love that. I love the question and I love your approach. At the end of the day, I think it comes back to recognizing that your partner experience is driven by operations, sales, really good enablement team. You mentioned Jessie Shipman. She's a gold rock star in the space. She knows what she's talking about, and she would say all day long, right? It's also web design, right? Think about what it's like to land on a website. Do you know what you're doing? Do you know where to go to take action? I love that idea, Paul. That's all I would say is enhance it by recognizing the scope of people you're going to need to pull that off. That's going to be reflective of the investment you're going to have to make to create an excellent partner experience for your partners. It's going to keep them coming back just like any other business.
Perfect. So I know we're right at time here. If there were any questions that came in that we weren't able to answer, we will make sure that we follow up by email and get all of those answered. If you do have questions for us, but you'd like to reach out to us personally, you can copy our email addresses here, take a screenshot of those or whatever you'd like. But I want to thank Rob and Aaron for being with us today, and everyone that joined the call today. It's been a great conversation, truly enjoyed it. And I'll say I have to do the shameless plug because this was brought to you by Magentrix. And as usual, it's not magic, it's Magentrix. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.